listen.
Exporting today, time to relearn the basics. So we're going to meet Bruno Beauvillier from Geodis, the Knowing Customs Officer. Bruno, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So I am Bruno Beauvillier, Custom and International Director for the group of Geodis, in charge of the compliance on this both area. And I am also VP of the Custom Commission in TLF.
Thank you. Thomas Steinmüller, Dafilog, the Knowing Logistician.
Yes, my name is Thomas Steinmüller. Hello, everybody. I'm a representative of an association looking for logistics properties, and I'm responsible for the international part of this originally French organization.
Thank you, Thomas. And Pedro Moreira, better, the Brazilian example. And you will share with us the perspective of Brazil and the Mercosur region through Abralog. Tell us more about it, Abralog, what you do.
Yes, thank you, Manuela. Thank you for leading this. Thanks to support us and the pre-work prior to this panel. I would like to thank you, STL, for the invitation. It's always a pleasure, honor to be here. Pleasure to be with my friend Thomas.
Yes, you know each other, right?
Yeah, since 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay, you've been working together, right? Or
yes,
a partnership?
We have a partnership between Abralog and Afilog to stimulate a bridge between continents, no? And also Bruno, we spoke earlier this morning, no?
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet.
But
Abralog is a trade association. We have 150 companies from different sectors. We call that we are logistic ecosystems in Brazil. And we have a branch in São Paulo and Brasilia, this federal capital. So pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, so just a few words for the audience. Quelques petits mots pour le public. You can ask your question in French or in English, or in Portugais or in espagnol. Est-ce que si vous êtes français, levez la main de langue française. If you're English speaker, please raise your hand. Okay, all French. Okay, vous pouvez poser vos questions en français, il y aura pas de souci. First, I would like to ask questions to Bruno Beauvillier. Yes. Maybe we can start with, how do you call that? International context about trade. So many things are happening right now. It's a very strange moment, isn't it?
Yes, correct. I think we need to start by the context in the international trade today, because the exportation, it's really a part of these activities of trade. And it's very important because the international market presents significant opportunity for the customer, the company, to increase their turnover outside of their own country, of course. This increasing could be done by multiple factors, including, for example, some new agreement where you can obtain some facilitation and also less duty, of course. But also, the international trade is very complex due to some challenges regarding geopolitical action right today. You know what's happened exactly. We have some trade tension also. But at last but not least, the custom regulation is very, very important when you export, because it's the beginning of the story of your flows. And the regulation can be complex with the high customs tariff, the new trade agreement, international sanction. So it's very important for the success of your exportation to prepare, to anticipate all of this regulation, new evolution of regulation.
Just a word on this international context. How is it for you from Brazil to see what's going on in the Middle East, for example, or with China, or with United States? How do you see that, you, Pedro?
Well, geopolitics nowadays driving the world. No, it's amazing. Every single week or day you have a breaking news. No, for example, customs have been suffering a lot with U.S. No, last year they increased by 75% tax. No, and now reduced to 25, but it's still high. No. What prejudice, for example, Brazil is a big exporter of commodities, no? Foods, vegetables, no? This impact a lot. What you can see now is this, finally you are going to sign the agreement between Mercosur and Europe, and this creates a fantastic bridge and opportunity between continents, no? We have to exploit this. And Brazil can be a hub in this scenario. Normally, it's a large continent, 8.5 million square kilometers, 220 million people, and we have 80% of our energy is renewable. So we have key fundamentals to be a hub and to strengthen the relationship with Europe.
And what is your analysis, Thomas Steinmeier, of what we're going through right now with these international tensions right now between Middle East, China, United States? Quick analysis of this international context. How you see that from Berlin?
Tariffs are always bad, so we have to look at trade without tariffs, but we must see that tariffs are coming actually from countries which are feeling strong, and we have to work that they are not as strong, so we have to become stronger ourselves. And I think the opportunities are there for export to get the best products of the world. So some products in Brazil are very interesting, also for the European market, and vice versa, the same. So I think the tariffs are terrible, so we can translate it a little bit like this. And we were on a good way in the last 10, 20 years, and now it changed extremely, and that's a little bit the problem. We were not prepared on this. That's our problem, because I think if we would have prepared, we had also give answers for this, and the dependence on everything, so on defense, for example. So to make a war with US implicates also that we lose the defense sector. That's the problem, and we had to reorganize all this.
You wanted to say something, Pedro?
Sorry?
You wanted to say something? No,
to
react.
I totally agree with Thomas, yeah.
To react. So let's talk about exporting in this world, in this international context. Bruno Beauvillier, how do we prepare to export? How do we anticipate?
Yes, it's very important to secure the international trade, and the custom data is fundamental. You need to know your product, you need to know origin, you need to know certification, you need to know the value, and for that you have to anticipate before to move the goods at the exportation. At the beginning of the story of your intention to go in foreign country, when you are going to sign the contract or to do the study, you need to anticipate all of this data, because the classification for the custom is very important to define which regulation will be applied to your goods. If you want to have benefit of some agreement, like said our colleague, the Mercosur, you need to manage and to master your origin, preferential origin or non-preferential. So it will be very important also on the impact of your cost of your product in the country at destination. And also you need to know if you are allowed to ship or not. And based on your classification, you can have some restriction, prohibition at the exportation. So it's very important to anticipate, follow the regulation, and to prepare your shipment, but not only at the moment of the moving of the goods, but certainly when you decide to looking for some customer in the foreign country.
Pedro Moreira, what are your basics on exportation? We say time to relearn the basics. For you, can you complete the answer? What are your basics on exportation today?
Yeah, Brazil, in this new scenario, can have an important role, not only as an exporter, but as I mentioned before, a hub. No, this is a big opportunity that we are foreseeing in the next years. I agree totally with Bruno. I think that companies do not run scenarios, no, or mitigation plans, not only in customs, but for example, logistics. So this is one exercise that companies has to implement as soon as possible. No, it's not easy, but you can contribute to mitigate the problems, anticipate the damages or risks. No.
Okay, Thomas Steinmüller, I remember on this stage a few minutes ago, you said that we have to learn that service matters, not only products. Is that a basic of exporting today?
That's also a basic, yes, we have to rethink, but we have also to look at new markets and the possibilities of new markets. The European Union not only made an agreement with Mercosur, but also with India, but also with Australia. So, and they are discussing much more. So we have to be prepared also for these markets. We are not, I don't know how many companies already are active in the Indian market, but the Indian market is one of the biggest markets. They have 1.5 billion inhabitants, and we can work with them. We are not aware of this. Australia, the same. Japan, we are not prepared. We only look at China and we only look at US.
Do you look at Africa?
Africa also a big topic, and we also have to see the events in Africa, because China is very strong in approaching the African continent. And the African continent is one of the biggest growing area of the world. They have actually 1 billion, and they will have in 2100 4 billion inhabitants, and we have to be prepared for this. That's what I mentioned already. We have to be prepared for the future developments, and we are not really prepared. We work like we worked yesterday in the traditional way, and we are not able to adapt. And especially with Latin America, we have a cultural neighborhood with them, because the origin of Latin America are Spanish and Portuguese and Italians. So we have a big opportunity to talk the same language. That's quite different with India as with China, because they are coming from a different culture. But we have to look at every market in this world and to explore it. So export is not only a one-way ticket. We have also to import topics, and we can learn much from them, so that we can do the same. But what you mentioned, products and services, we have also to adjust this.
Okay, thank you for your answers. How do we do, Bruno Beauvillier, when we have Europe with so many rules? How many rules?
So I think in principle in the supply chain, the story said there are more than 20, 25 companies to move the goods from one point of the world to another one, at minimum. Because it's not only the truck front of your factory, but it could be also the handling, the packaging, some manipulation at the port, airport. So you have many people in charge, company, and more or less at each time you have a point of customs, and you have to respect, even if you don't custom clear at the border, you need somebody to present the goods at the border, and after to transfer to another point, and you need a lot of people. And one actor in this supply chain, very important, it's the custom broker, who can bring some support about the regulation, but also in the organization of your export flows in customs, where you custom clear, which custom regime you are able to apply, which interest, if it's temporary, definitive. So all this area in the exportation, it's very important to have the collaboration with a custom broker. It's a professional, and he can help you to organize and predict also one organization to custom clear in the best way and the more efficient manner, and to be for sure at the end compliant, because the risk of non-compliance is very important, and the sanction can be very high, not only by fine, but also in the fact that you stop the truck somewhere, you have no the goods in your warehouse, in your factory, so you lost cost, or you have cost, you have delay. So more you anticipate, more you ask a professional to help you to organize the export flows, it will be more efficient for you and your success.
Do you work, Pedro, with custom brokers?
Sorry?
Do you work with
Yes.
custom brokers? You do that? Yeah?
Yeah. It's the same reality in Brazil. No, Brazil has been improving in terms of customs regulation, but there is still a big gap to overcome. No, you know, geodesics in Brazil. You know very well our region, but you have to pursue the discussion. You have to have entities like Abralog, Afilog, and other to be closer to the government to speed up this situation. No. Customs really is a key issue for competitiveness. No?
How logistics can be a driver of competitiveness from your point of view, Pedro?
Well, logistics is equal competitiveness nowadays, not only manage a cost, but as Thomas mentioned, is a competitive advantage, you know. Nowadays, you have to be resilient, you have to be too fast to redesign your network, no, to adapt the customs. So I think that you work on this scenario. No, logistics is fundamental nowadays for companies to make feasible to deliver good products on time, quality, and etc. No. So I think that logistics nowadays is fundamental. It's not just a commodity for companies.
But you have structural challenges and workforce transformation, including infrastructure gaps, regulatory complexity, productivity, and labor shortages. How do you manage with that? How do you do? And you can also answer, gentlemen.
Well, infrastructure. Brazil is big country, as I mentioned.
Yes.
70% of our products go through roads. The remaining 30% is rail, air, cabotage, and river. So we have to expand the other models, no? And also to implement the multimodality that we don't have in Brazil. We don't have a logistics platform. Brazil has invested in low amount of GDP in infrastructure, less than 1%. And according to our analysis in Abralog, Brazil should invest at least 3% of GDP per year the next 20 years to leverage the overall capacity. No? So this is one gap that you have to work on every day.
You've been talking about infrastructure, but is digitalization a new basic? Does it have to be a new basic, digitalization? You want to answer, Thomas?
I think digitization helps, and we knew digitization helps, so we have to work on this, and we have also to rethink a little bit what we understand by logistics. Logistics is a system, as Pedro mentioned, but there are different qualities. So in the last decades, we tried to reduce the stocks because we said stocks are costs. And everything is in flow, and we are able to organize everything in shortest time. Just in time was the label for this. So we reduced the stocks for cost reasons. Mm-hmm. And today, I think, and also infrastructure deficits can manage by stocks. If I have higher stocks, I need less transport. I have bigger transport activities. I have perhaps also nearby to the population higher stocks that can give more service levels. So what we are discussing, for example, the same hour delivery in the cities. The same hour delivery is only possible if I have a stock nearby. Otherwise, it's not possible. I'm not able to bring something in 1 hour from the borders of Paris to the apartment. So I have to stock it there. And I think we must be more resilient with stocks. So we have to think about more stocks. I'm representative of this industry, so I am happy about this. But we lived for decades with these lower stocks. So I think one possibility to integrate is not only digitization, but also real stocks. Because with real stocks, we are aware of any kind of crisis and we are prepared for this. And we should take these costs because the costs of a production must be stopped because one part is missing is much higher than the cost for the stock.
Thank you. First, okay, go on, Bruno after.
Bruno, please go. Yeah. No, just complement what Thomas is saying. For example, Brazil, the logistics cost is around 13%, 30% of a GDP. Europe is 9 to 10. Part of this is inefficiency, is lack of stock, is long time delivery, all that stuff. So we have to think about that. No, we have to work on that. Other point is productivity. Brazil has to work on increasing productivity. Nowadays, for example, the GDP per inhabitant is running about 20,000 euros per inhabitant. In Europe, it's 54, 60,000, Thomas. It's 3 times difference. So in Brazil, we are discussing nowadays work hours reductions per week. We learned from Europe that many countries, before reducing work hours per week, improve productivity, invest in technology, automation. So have to do this homework prior to discuss the reduction. No? This is a big discussion in Congress nowadays in Brazil.
Yes, regarding the digitalization, it's very important also for the customs because in the past we transport goods and paper to have the data. Now we have to transport the goods and the data by many ways, EDI or something like that. And the data is needed more and more at the beginning of the flows from the departure till the end. And when you are in the export and importation, more or less the data, it's always the same. So if you want to earn in productivity, it's better to collect the data accurate and efficient at the beginning of the flows and to transport this data from IT tool to IT tool and to allow to give the data at the right authorities at the right moment to let the goods to go very smoothly across the border. And at the end, you need to give more data to the custom authority usually in the world. So if I remember, in the past in France, it was around 54 data to do the custom clearance. Now it's around 200 and 300 data in the custom clearance. So you see the number of data that we have to manipulate. And more this data is anticipated, accurate, confirmed, verified, more the flows will be efficient and smooth.
You value international collaboration and connectivity to strengthen the ties between Brazil, Mercosur, and Europe through partnership, as you did with industry associations like Abralog. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done together? And for you, it's a new basic to do that, to value this connectivity?
I think that collaboration, cooperation is key nowadays. You cannot win by alone. No, you have to play together. No, and I think that institutions such as Afilog, Abralog, ILA, that we also have a partnership, and Thomas articulated this partnership a year ago. is the key, though, to improve this collaboration, to discuss best practice, to sharing best practices, to sharing best practice on customs issue, efficiency. So we are really motivated with this partnership. I think that's an important bridge. And together, we can convince governments to change regulations, to improve regulations. It's not easy because there are political issues, but as institutions, you have this fundamental work to improve this connection and partnership.
Thomas, you want to react?
Yes, it's the understanding of the other side. It's very important to be in discussion, to see what are the Brazilians are talking about, to discuss common topics. So we are discussing also the geopolitics from the different views, because the European view is quite different from the Brazilian view. Brazil is part of BRICS, for example. So Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. Then there were big problems with US, with Donald Trump, because he put tariffs on nearly everything in US. And we discussed all these topics. And this was very interesting to see the different views on the topics. And we are not in the daily, but in the weekly or monthly discussions about everything. And that helps because we have a partner on the other side. So if I have a problem in South America, I call Pedro. And if Pedro has a problem in Europe, he calls me. So it's the best thing in the shortest way.
Do you discuss about, I guess, because it's a basic now to export, do you discuss about energy transition?
Yes.
You have to.
Yeah, no. It's
Tell us about it, Pedro.
It's not compliance anymore. It's our responsibility, no? It's clear. So, as an institution, have this important momentum to push companies for this transition. And also Brazil, as I mentioned, is 80% of energy is renewable. Can be a source of partnership with Europe, no? This is why I'm really confident with this agreement between Mercosur and Europe. Because Europe, you have a big community in Brazil. You have a German community, French community, Italian community, Spanish community, so Portugal, obviously. So you have to exploit together this opportunity, and maybe Brazil can be a hub, as Mexico and Canada are both hubs from US. No, maybe Brazil can play in this role.
Thomas, and after Bruno.
Yes, but I have a good example. When we visited Brazil in 23, 1 week ago, 1 week before, the German Minister for Economy visited the country and said he will buy energy. And the response from Brazil was, no, we don't want to sell energy, but you can install industries in Brazil, and then you get the energy. And 3 weeks later, the Minister for Labor went to Brazil and asked for people for working in Europe. And again, the Brazilians said, no, you can bring your seniors to us and we can work with them, but you don't get the people from our side. So it's also the understanding. So in the German government, they had problems to understand what's the ideas of Brazil. They only asked, we can buy something. We come with a pocket of money and we will buy this. And they said, no, you can't buy this. You can install something here. And that's very interesting.
Yes, the reason why is that normally in Brazil, our experience of every new government change a plan. Change a logistics plan, and logistics is a mid-long term, 10, 20, 30 years ahead. But in Brazil, every single government change plans. So we are almost starting every cycle of government, no? And logistics has to be a kind of state priority, no? Mid, long term, with investment, with commitment. And this happens, for example, as mentioned by Thomas, no? These restrictions. Agree?
As he said, the logistics is the blood circulation of the economy. And we have to understand this. Without blood circulation, there's nothing. So you are dead. So that's something we have to realize.
Just to go back on energy transition, it's a topic for you too, Bruno Beauvillier, I guess.
Not directly. Of course, in the supply chain, the environment is very important. So we have to decrease the carbon consumption by building some bâtiment with the new regulation to use electricity for our truck and so on and so on. But if we speak about custom only, the environment is also in the declaration when you custom clear, because the new regulation obliges some importer or exporter to respect some rules regarding the decarbonization, but also the deforestation. And it's clearly including in the customs tariff classification. And you can see that when you see the regulation linked to this code, HS code, you can see that you have to respect the carbon adjustment border mechanism, and that you have to buy also certificate of carbon in addition of your duty and your VAT. So the environment regulation impact also the operation of custom brokerage.
Okay. You wanted to add something, Pedro? And after,
Yes.
it's your turn to ask questions.
I would like to talk about labor shortage. That's a global problem, no? Everywhere. Shortage of drivers, operators, even specialists, no? This is the key point that we have to work together, no? Because logistics is fundamental. For example, we visit the US beginning of this year, January. It's the same. Companies has been facing problems to run the 30 shift. I think that's in Europe is the same, you know, Thomas. So the labor shortage is a big challenge for everybody. No?
And it's a challenge that that will have consequences on the way we export today. Is it a new basic?
Yes.
Labor shortage,
Yeah,
it's a new basic.
Definitely,
Okay.
yeah. Definitely. You have technology. Technology is not an option. It's fundamental. No, can help a lot. But you have to think on upskilling the workforce. You have to review the work regulation. You have to invest in automation. Automation is not any mile of people. Can complement the solution, no, to improve productivity, no. So these aspects you have to work on is the basics for the company, no? And labor shortage is a big problem everywhere.
Okay, thank you. You wanted to react on that, Thomas? Okay, your turn now. They've been very good. Ils ont été excellents, ne les laissez pas seuls. Qui a une question ou une expertise ou un avis à donner, n'hésitez pas. Première question, lancez-vous. Oui, here, please. Ici, pardon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just so Bruno, no, he's afraid. No, Bruno raised the question about CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and you spoke about regulations and export from Brazil. How do you consider all our new regulations in Europe? I mean, from a Brazilian perspective, because when you want to export from Brazil or from anywhere globally, now you need to fulfill these regulations. How companies are prepared in your countries, in South America, to make sure that they will register to the EU database, to declare their CO2 emissions, and all the stuff that, you know, Bruno spoke about doing the customs declarations, but behind, it's a lot of new obligations, and part of it is outside of the EU. So how do you, first, are you aware about all these new regulations on the EU side impacting your exports, and how companies are preparing for it?
I think these questions, no? No, we have to work on that as well. We have many restrictions. Brazil is one of the most bureaucratic countries in the world. According to the last survey, you know, have bureaucracy is increased. You have been improving among the years. You call logistics without paperless, no? But a lot of things to do. And my concern about this agreement that we are going to start in May is that one. Companies has to do an exercise to improve this in cooperation with government, no? is a big restriction to speed up the exportation and importation as well. I think that companies like Geodis or that are in Brazil, other key players, has a fundamental contribution on this because they have global experiences, they operate in both regions, and then can help companies to speed up this restriction, or to eliminate the restriction, sorry.
Just one more. Yes, of course, many people think that because we are at one point in the world and another one in the world, we can know everything about the regulation. But for us, our main job is to do logistic, and we are not in the production side of our customer. So the owner of the product, how the product is built, how the food has been created in the country, we don't know because all the documentation, all the certification is obtained by the exporter of record, and he has to bring that. We are not able to go to one place and to see it's a deforestation site or not, because we are not specialists.
Yeah.
If we speak about the CBAM, it's regarding how you produce your product and how many tons of carbon do you use to create this product. For sure, we are logistician. We are not in the factory. So we need mandatory the information from the exporter of record or the importer of record. That's why the anticipation, the organization, the verification, and to survey the regulation is very important by anticipation because we can't do everything at the place of the producer, in fact. We can give some advice about the regulation in place, but the verification of the technical point linked to this product, it's in the hand of the exporter and the importer of record.
Thomas?
But I think Pedro is right that logistics providers can add this service, add added value to the Brazilian customers and also to the European customers, because you are aware of the difficulties, but they have to pay for this. So that's a business case. So it's not for nothing, but it's a business case. And I think it's an interesting business case because companies now are looking for new markets and they know they have to invest. So I think it could be a possibility also for logistics providers to be an enabler for export.
Okay, you told me that when you have a question or a problem for Europe, you call your friend Thomas. So you could call him for this kind of questions if it's really difficult to understand Europe about all these rules. And as he said, so many, are you aware of it? He asked you. Do you call him? Is he a good person to answer to this question?
Yes, sure. And Thomas knows everything, you know. Sorry, he's my friend. But yes, you talk a lot about energy transition, how real estate, another key topic, you know, is progressing in both regions. Now we have a big problems on oil price increase that's affecting the transportation cost. Now it's amazing, the impact in air freights, roads. So this is a kind of a contribution that you can talk one each other. Yeah.
Ok. Est-ce qu'on a une autre question dans le public ou une autre intervention pour les dernières minutes? Last question. Maybe? Yes? No? It's a no. Okay. At the round table before, I asked the people here on stage, where would be Europe in 10 years? So he already answered, but maybe you can answer again. How do you imagine the link between you in Brazil and Europe in 10 years? What would it be in your deepest dreams?
10 years.
10 years.
Not easy. You need a crystal ball to. It's difficult to predict 1 year, 2 years,
No,
but
what
10 years.
would you like?
I like this integration to be strong as much as possible. Brazil has this opportunity to be a global hub.
Okay.
Know? So you have been inserted in supply chain redesign, the discussions, in the operations. No, I think that we have to learn with Europe the key of labor regulation, how improve productivity, energy transition. Europe is a benchmark globally. No, although Brazil has 80% of renewable energy, you have gaps to be eliminated. No, we don't have a national regulation with energy transition in the country. So this contribution is fundamental, no, as well. And regulation, customs, you have to exchange best practices to improve the overall performance. No, I think that's these are and talent, addressing better people, upskilling, that we discussed prior. No?
In 10 years, you will meet again. So what are you going to discuss about in 10 years? About exporting tomorrow.
4 hours.
Exporting tomorrow, how will it be? And exporting, for example, in Brazil or anywhere in the world?
No, I think the principle of the international trade will be there in 10 years, even if there are some geopolitical issue or something like that. But the world is the world as today, so the production of the product could be in the country where the labor of the cost of the labor will be less, but the consumption will be in other country. So I think the world is a playground to sell and to buy some goods, to produce and to distribute. So I think the exportation will be there in place and maybe more than today, because many new trade agreements, Mercosur with the Canada, with Australian and so on, so it will improve the facility to export, and they will improve also the capacity to our company to go further in the world with their product.
And what about you, Thomas Steinmüller, exporting tomorrow? How will it be in 10 years?
10 years, I have a dream.
Aha, okay.
I have a dream that we are doing more business with democracies, as Latin America, these are all democracies, with Canada, with Australia, and that we are less dependent from dictatorships in any kind. From energy, from everywhere.
Okay, so let's meet here in 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
10 years here on this stage.
And Emmanuel, the winners is not to be the biggest, but the faster companies, the faster to adapt. No, I think that this is the key. No, implement, execute correctly. No, I think that have to work on that together.
Okay, thank you. This will be the last words. Thank you. On peut les applaudir, s'il vous plaît. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Thanks a lot. Very interesting.
Listen.